If you don't understand the 3 levels of business, then you are risking huge failure. Since starting my business in 2006 up till now becoming a 7-figure business owner, I've sat down and reverse engineered my journey as a startup, a self-employed individual, a lifestyle business owner, and now lifestyle entrepreneur. And we have a short episode here for you directly from our live event that we delivered not so long ago. And I walk you through these key phases of startup, self-employed, and lifestyle business. And I'm going to explain to you the challenges that you face at each level and what stops you getting to the next level. When you understand that business is a game, everything begins to change. I used to get so attached to the destination, to the goal, to the result, to the numbers. But when I think back to being a child, I used to play computer games and I enjoyed every level. I enjoyed the challenge. I endured the challenge. I loved being the end of level boss. That is how you should view business. That is how I have reframed business. It's about the journey. It's about the fun that you have along the way. And it's about who you need to become to get to that next level. And at the next level, everything becomes easier. But as always in the business journey, new level, new devil. Your first employee is different to your 10th employee. Your 10th is different to your 20th. So I hope this inspires you. I hope this helps you understand the challenges that you are potentially facing or are going to face. This really resonated for the 50 plus people that we had in the room. So I hope you enjoy it and I hope you find huge value. Over to the show. So when we think about a startup, it's kind of that phase of up to 75 to 100,000 pounds. So in that kind of arena, profitability is low because we're trying to get started. You know, the goal fundamentally at that early stage of business, wherever you are, is just to cover the living expenses as you possibly can, to take that pressure off of feast and famine. You know, you're going to be finding you've got zero employees, you are wearing all the hats, and it becomes a real challenge. Thinking about my journey, the problems were, who is your ideal client? Who is the actual person that we really want to target and we really want to come into the business? Because if we know who we're speaking to, everything else follows downstream off of the back of that. Once you know who you're talking to and what journey they're going on, you can literally remove all the bottlenecks and you can put assets in to replace it. So who's your client? Focusing on what is their problem. So who are we fundamentally talking to and what is the core problem that they're facing? And how do we share that? How do we talk about that? How do we nail that? Because particularly when you're starting out, the goal is to try and help everybody. And that's how you make money initially, but the sooner you can refine that, the quicker you get out of startup phase. Next thing is, you know, minimal viable product. What's the one thing we're going to lead with? And I think that's equally a challenge as we go through the journey as well, because we try and sell everything. But then particularly now with the world of social media, you know, you're talking about life insurance one minute, you're talking about mortgages the next minute, you're talking about losing fat or putting on muscle. People go, well, what the hell does this person offer me? You know, it's like, I just want to know one thing, and that's why I'm following you, is for that one thing. People are now quite simple when it comes to being online. And probably if you think about the pages or the channels that you follow, it will link in with this. So also at startup phase, visibility and authority. Nobody knows who you are. You know, you've not been doing the job a very long time, or maybe you've just started out. You've got to start going networking. You'll build some of that visibility. You'll build some of that authority, but it takes time. You know, once that starts to gain traction, then you'll start attracting people in, exactly as some of the guys have talked about today, in how that realistically works. And then last, I think, and where I've seen people fail, is just not committing enough. You know, we used to do 9 till 9s in 2006, and it was much easier back then. You know, 2016, still did some 9 till 9, 6-day weeks. I had to because I'd made the financial commitment. But I think a lot of people think in starting out phase, it's going to be easier. And I don't say that none of you have been through that because you're all here still. But a lot of people, particularly in this industry, leave the job or get into mortgages thinking it's going to be easy. You know, it's not being committed enough. It's not willing to be working. It's not willing to be proactive. Does that resonate for anyone who's kind of been on this journey? Just quick show of hands if it does, just to give me some feedback. Okay. So that's kind of where I was thinking we were at. And that's what I certainly felt when I was in that phase. I had no credibility. I'd never done anything online. You know, I had no visibility, no trust. I didn't want to go networking. It was a horrendous thing to do. The next phase is self-employed.
75, 100, I'm still playing with that, but up to kind of the 250 point. You're too big to be small, too small to be big. How many of you are in that kind of arena at the moment? Quick high show of hands. Yeah. So this here I find is it's only low in profitability because the goal is to be investing back into people. You know, we want to start delegating out some things to freelancers. We want to start delegating out a lot to an admin in particular. But your goal at this point is to really start buying back some time to focus on higher value activities like your leads, like your sales, like the core appointments of things that you're doing. You're realistically looking at one employee, but you're starting to move into that phase of bringing in your sort of second person. Problems, consistent lead generation. A lot of it at that stage is working on still referrals, still recommendations, you know, still people that you're attracting. But that is a bit like feast and famine in all senses. A lack of leads and inconsistent leads hits your bankings, hits your income later on. You get 2 1 month, none the next. You know, it's a real tough kind of gig to balance out. Then we have, how the hell do I bring this person in? How do I find them? How do I onboard them? How do I delegate? What do I give them? Do I trust them enough to do it with my clients as good as I've done it? You know, these kind of things start to go in our heads. So then that almost hinders us at this level as well. That was certainly one of the things that, you know, speaking to so many people has been one of those challenges of what do I give them? How do I train them? And also then how do I make sure that they're doing it the way in which it needs to get done? So it comes into the learning to let go. You know, it's a big, big transition and change when you've been the person doing everything, but it's one of those real things that keeps you kind of stuck more than anything else. And then we start moving into, you know, moving away from Excel spreadsheets, moving away from tasks on Outlook and trying to get something into play that enables you to have that confidence to let go. Enables you to have a system where your notes are, a system where your diary tasks are to follow up, where you come in on a Monday morning, you know, and you've got everything you need to do for that day, and then you cancel all those off, and then you know, kind of move on to day number 2. And again, still working hours at this kind of level. Even when we were doing 250, it was still a real struggle in relation to the working hours because, you know, everything falls on your shoulders, particularly if you're in famine time rather than feast time. You know, you're still struggling a little bit from time to time with cash flow. You're starting to talk somewhere between 3 and 6 employees. You know, you want that to be higher per head revenue. The goal is really you're starting to enjoy some life. You've got a bit of consistency. The business is becoming a bit of a machine now. It's beginning to kind of work. But again, your problems, per head revenue. So this is something I want all of you to really track. It's the biggest thing I look at. You know, so as one person, you can do somewhere up to 100,000, 75 to 100 grand. As soon as you bring a second person in, you should be starting to push somewhere between 2 to 250. Now I know that's a challenge because if you're in mortgage sense, the Northern Hemisphere, obviously properties are a hell of a lot cheaper than down here in lovely Essex. So you've got to take that into consideration, which means you have to do more, which is an investment of time. But you've got to start thinking about how you can, but hopefully your cost of living is a hell of a lot less up north. Your staff wages are a lot cheaper up north compared to down here as an example. So £100,000 per head is where you want to be aiming at as a minimum for the people that you have on your team. 2 part-timers obviously adds to 1 full-timer. But if you can get that to £250, £200, 200,000 per head revenue, your business is going to be highly profitable and less stressful. I think it's either Amazon or Google that work at like 1.3 billion per 1.3 million per head revenue. So it's like that's why they make the money that they do, because it's just how many people have we got on the ground and what's the turnover of the business as a result of that, and profit naturally follows. Cash flows obviously can be the struggle in the early phase. The goal is to move out of that and sort of move away from that phase as you grow and get bigger. But as we move into this, it's about sales process and delivery. So it's consistency is the big thing. The challenge here, and what I've experienced, is you start getting pulled pillar to post. You allow clients to rule you, rather than saying, this is my 10-step process. I don't give a shit who you are. This is the journey that you're going to be going through, irrespective of whether you're, you know, a first-time buyer or an experienced landlord. You know, you have to control that journey more than anything else, and you have to take people through that. Once you nail that process, then it enables delivery to become a bit automated. Then it makes it easier for others to go through that and do the delivery for you, essentially. You know, it's the same in this business as an example. If I was able to write content and write a program or a day that somebody else could just learn and deliver, that effectively is a similar example with how I could remove myself from doing this all the time, although I enjoy it. It's that whole point of that's what enables you to grow and move on. Strategic planning becomes really, really key at this point because you're juggling your cash flows, so therefore you need to know when to invest, when you can spend on marketing, when you can bring the next person in. You've got to start really understanding numbers, you know, cash flow forecasts, management accounts, getting a real consistent, clear idea on, you know, the direction of the business, having a bit of foresight 1 to 3 to 6 months ahead. But I think mindset and leadership is the big thing here. This has been the biggest transition for me personally, you know, moving out of having a smaller team and then starting to lead people as well as manage people. You know, you're starting to juggle. It's like having more children in some senses where you deal with that. You know, you've got to start thinking for them as well as for you. You've got to manage different personalities. So you have to start thinking, well, equally the biggest shift at this phase, you're starting to move out of what you've always done. You know, I had an identity as a mortgage advisor for 14 years up until sort of 2020 time. That was how I identified. That was what I did. You know, I'm a mortgage advisor. But then when I stopped doing as much advising, you're almost like, well, what the hell do I do now? You know, you're getting an income, you're doing stuff. Well, where do I put my time? What do I do with things? So it becomes a bit more of a challenge to know what to do next. And that's the mindset piece. Because you could technically sit back and do nothing, but I don't think anyone who's here is wired in that way. So then you start to think about focusing on your high value activities, income generating tasks. I think here is where time management becomes even more important because you have too much time. So it's knowing where best to put your time, energy and effort.
Hey guys, before you disappear, this is something that I have been working on for months, getting really super clear on the problems, the challenges, the puzzles that I have faced from startup to self-employed to lifestyle business owner. And my whole business journey is about helping you to achieve your definition of success. You know, I practice what I preach in my own businesses and then I bring that to my clients and my community in our consulting and training business to help them build a business, income and lifestyle they truly love. So it's with exciting news that I want to introduce you to our first step for any startup, self-employed person or seasoned business owner doing 6 or 7 figures that wants to attract better quality leads. If you understand how to attract, how to convert and how to retain leads in your business, everything else becomes so much easier. So make sure that you click the link in the description to find out about leads on automation and come and join us on the inside.